How'll do, everybody. Got a bit of a shocking story. It's quite a bad one. It is from yesterday, but I thought I'd cover it today because it's very important. And I'm going to give my opinion. I haven't read the story yet. I only know basic information myself, so I'm going to be a lot of this will be new to me as I'm going through it. So, child and three adults injured in Hackney shooting. A child is in serious condition and three adults have been injured after being shot near a restaurant in East London. Oh wow, what a surprise. Look what happens when guns are banned. It's almost like criminals don't care, isn't it? Who would have... Does this person not know that having handguns and things for shooting people in this country is against the law? And you're only permitted to own firearms for purposes such as, but not exclusively to, sport shooting and vermin control. Does this individual not know that? It's almost like criminals don't care, isn't it? Crazy. What a wild speculation. Who would have thought that criminals had flagrantly dismissed laws such as firearms not being allowed to be kept for any other purpose other than those sanctioned by the government. Anyway, let's carry on. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in this story, I'll put the link below so you can peruse it at your own leisure as well. Police were called to Kingsdale High Street in Darlston in Hackney at about 9:20 on Wednesday after reports of gunshots. Officers, including firearms specialists and the London Ambulance Service, attended the scene, the Met Police have said. I mean, this is absolutely tragic as well, Not only for the family that has been shot up here, I mean, that's absolutely awful for them, obviously. But, these people, these emergency service workers as well, who've got to turn up and witness this sort of rubbish, they've got to try and hold this little girl's insides back in potentially. This is terrible. And then you've got all the other people in the area as well who are going to be terrified by this. Absolutely shocking. And again, I know I sound like a broken record with this, but this is once again why we need to start contemplating bringing back floggings and the death sentence, because this sort of behaviour is animalistic, and in my opinion, there is absolutely no other solution for this other than a short drop with a very swift stop, unfortunately for the individual on the end of the rope anyway. The four victims were found with gunshot injuries and were taken to hospital in East London, the Met added. Terrible. The force said the child remained in a serious condition, and unfortunately as well, with young children, is the wounds are going to be exponentially worse and potentially more life-threatening, not only because of the difference in comparable size between the bullet compared to the child's body. It's hugely bigger, but children are a lot more fragile generally than adults as well in regards to serious trauma like this. So this is very, very bad for this young girl. Very, very bad. And that it was awaiting further details of the other victims' conditions. No arrests have been made and an investigation into circumstances around the incident has begun. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Matt Ward said Londoners would be shocked by the incident. Not just Londoners. I think pretty much anybody with a thinking brain anywhere in the world would be shocked by this. It's just terrible. Absolutely senseless violence. I can't get my head through why somebody would do something like this. Well, I can actually. It's going to be drugs related, isn't it? It's going to be related to crime. More than likely organised crime. And these people just don't care. And again, people may not like this, but this is why I think that guns should be legalised. Because at the moment, you have people who are law-abiding members of the public who are essentially sitting ducks to these sorts of vicious criminals who do not care about owning firearms, whether legal or illegally. They just don't care what will happen. They don't care about the long-term consequences because they're not even thinking about the long-term consequences. They're not concerned about getting caught. So unfortunately, you've got and it's not just firearms. We're not allowed to own anything for self-defense purposes because that is a crime to own any implement with the intention of using it as a weapon or a tool to defend yourself. That in and of itself is a crime in this country. So it's just the whole, unfortunately, and that's fine in a high trust society, by the way, where people are generally going to abide by social norms and social rules that are unspoken but understood by everybody. But we don't have that anymore, particularly due to mass migration of people from countries where they have no respect for life or law and order. And yet, okay, there are people who are, you would call indigenous Britons, who also have that mindset. But there are far fewer of them as a percentage and ratio to the whole population in comparison to other parts of the world. And even then, the level of barbarity that you see in some countries, you've not seen in this country since like the time of the Vikings being here. Our laws really need to change to reflect the new society that we have, which is people who don't care about using extreme violence and don't care about the law or about going to prison because they see it as an easy, so madness, just absolute madness. And a lot of these criminals are laughing. about it because they see us as a soft touch and they see the citizenry as a soft touch and easy targets. It's like the lads who go around on the bikes robbing people's watches off the wrists. They're laughing. They're absolutely laughing their heads off while they're doing it. They love it. For them, it's easy street. They don't care. They just see it. It's like playing hook a duck on the carnival. It's easy for them. Easy money. Our thoughts go to those affected, he added. Fast-moving inquiries are underway and we will update as soon as we can. If anyone has information, please contact us. Please do. If you are living in the London area and you any information in regards to this, please do. But, I mean, I don't know which people involved is in Hackney. Probably going to be from a minority community. And if the shooting of that young black girl, Sasha, I can't remember her surname, she was a BLM activist, very, very radical one. She got shot in the head at a party. Not one single witness came forward about that, even though it happened in front of a house packed full of people. You know, and they will have known, in my opinion, who did the shooting. But, you know, for all the things that they went on about with the Black Lives Matter groups and all sticking together and black people doing all this together, not one person came forward for her. And the case in that collapsed. The police even arrested the guys. There was a trial, but they couldn't get the information out of any witnesses. So I'm not necessarily hopeful that this is going to go anywhere either, because unfortunately you do tend to get a culture of omerta happening. If you don't know what omerta is, by the way, that's from a mafia code where basically you don't talk, because if you talk, not only do they end your life, but they're going to end the life of all your family members as well. A London Ambulance Service spokesman said it had treated the 3 adults and a child at the scene before taking them to a major trauma centre. Passerby Ayo Adesina told the BBC, I arrived maybe about 4, 5 or 6 minutes after it happened. People were just silent, like someone was trying to help. People just seemed stunned and trying to work out what was happening. Well, that's shocked that. And when serious events happen like this, it is hard for people who aren't trained and have been in these sorts of experiences to know what to do. And I've been on the sort of other side of this myself, where I've near where I live, I helped a guy who was passed out, well, not passed out, but he was incredibly intoxicated, drunk, and he was falling all over the place, split his head open, and people didn't know what to do. But obviously with my ex-military training, I'm not saying I'm an expert in first aid or anything, but I was able to take control of the situation from 2 other people that were there, and I had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Just sort of stood there just staring, but they think they're helping, even though they're not. But and I just took control of the situation, got them to ring up the ambulance for me whilst I was treating the guy to the best of my ability and sort of trying to find out as much information as I could and just things like that, you know. But for somebody like myself who's got the life experience that I do have, that's very easy for me to sort of fall into taking control of a situation like that. But for the average punter on the street who maybe, I don't know, only works in a shop or an office or something, and the most stressful experience they generally have is maybe arguing with a significant other maybe once a week or something, who knows. You know, like these sorts of scenarios, you're like a rabbit in the headlights. You know, they don't know what to do. And that's not their fault. You know, it really isn't. It's very, very stressful, and it's hard for the body to process. There are all sorts of chemicals that your brain releases in stressful situations. You don't know what to do with them, you know. Anyway, he said Kingsland High Street was a popular area and it was very reckless for someone to have done. Well, it's almost like criminals don't care, isn't it? I know I keep saying that, but who would have thought that dangerous criminals would be concerned about collateral damage of other people on the street, doing it in public, you know, flagrantly. Another resident, Dane Evans, who heard gunshots while walking his dog, said this was part of living in Hackney. Or I suppose, as the mayor once said, Sajid Javid, no, not Sajid Javid, bloody, what's he called? Oh, Sadiq Khan. I could see his face then in my head, but I couldn't get the name out. He once famously said it's part and parcel of living in a modern city. There you go. Part of getting shot while you're having your food at a restaurant at 9 p.m. is part and parcel of living in a modern city. His words, not mine. Another resident, sorry, I already read that bit. If I'd arrived 5 minutes earlier, who knows what would have happened? It's not good for the community. It's not good for anybody, but they are right. It isn't good for the community. But is there even a community? They talk about these so-called communities, but from what I can see, when I visited many of these big cities, especially when you go to the more cosmopolitan areas, not some of the more homogenous areas, like, you know, there's parts of, say, Blackburn near me where, you know, it's like pretty much entirely Pakistani or pretty much entirely Anglo-Saxon, and they do have strong communities there. But when you go to these kinds of areas, like this in Hackney, from what I can see on the pictures, where it's like the United Colours of Benetton down the street, there isn't really any community spirit. You've got loads of different people living compartmentalised lives from each other who sort of rub shoulders in the street, so to speak, but don't. There's not really much crossing over of anything. And if anything, most of the people end up just locking themselves in the properties at night because they're too scared to go out. And that seems to be, from my observations anyway, what happens in a lot of these places. Caroline Woodley, Mayor of Hackney, said, "This was a shocking attack and my thoughts are with those and the affected and their families." Yeah, same here. It's absolutely terrible. "I understand the deep concern that will be felt across Darlston, and we will be here to support the community as more details emerge. We are now closely supporting the police investigation. This incident took place in a busy part of the borough, and I would like to urge anybody with information to come forward." Yeah, I absolutely second those as well. If you do have any information, please do contact the police, even if you do it anonymously. Just try and give them some sort of tip off, because even if the parents are the worst people in the world and they deserved it, so to speak. A little 9-year-old girl absolutely does not deserve having that happen into her, especially in front of her family. That is just absolutely shocking. If you found that interesting or insightful or useful, please do like, subscribe, and please put comments below. I love reading your comments and I love replying to them. I don't claim to be the fountain of all knowledge and information. I don't claim to be right on everything. I do believe my opinions are correct, but if you disagree with me, please put it down below. I will read it. I may not agree necessarily with you immediately, but if your arguments are strong enough, I am more than willing to change my mind. I am not a closed book by any means. So please do comment. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your evenings, and goodbye.